Hello friends! My name is KitaDollx and welcome to my channel. At some point in every growing farmer's life, there comes a time to upgrade their house, get married, and get their first 50 mushroom logs. The spouse and the mushroom logs are obvious choices, but which house upgrades and renovations should you prioritize? Today, I'm going to be comparing the Stardew Valley farmhouse renovations to see which upgrades give you the best bang for your buck when it comes to expanding your house. If you find this interesting, please like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. With that being said, let's get into it. With the Stardew Valley 1.6 update, there were tons of changes and new additions to the game, including a few new options for upgrading your farmhouse. All of the upgrades and renovations can be purchased through Robin at the carpentry shop. To access the renovations, you'll have to start by getting the first and second house upgrades. The first upgrade will cost you 10,000 gold and 450 wood. The second upgrade is 65,000 gold and 100 hardwood. Once you have the first two upgrades, your options start to branch out, including all of the renovations and the third house upgrade, which is the cellar. This is where the real decisions come into play. The renovations have a wide range of room sizes and prices. I'm going to include the cellar in this comparison since it can be purchased at the same time. So what do we pick? I'm going to try to rank all of these options based on room size, location, cost per tile, and any specific perks that may be included. I generally won't be including hallways or stairs as additional usable spaces. So depending on how aggressively you are placing equipment or decor, your mileage may vary. After we get through my rankings, I want to compare all of the stats for house upgrades and renovations to the first two house upgrades and the trusty shed. So stay tuned if you want to see how those all stack up by the numbers. Let's start at the bottom with number 9, the dining room. This is easily the most expensive renovation at 150,000 gold, so it's already got a high barrier to entry. On top of that, it isn't even the biggest addition tile-wise. At 110 tiles, that makes it the least efficient addition as well, costing over 1,360 gold per tile. It does technically net you an extra 7 tiles in the kitchen by removing the cabinetry along the wall, but that won't be enough to save this room. The shape of the room isn't bad, but by the time you get this one, the rest of the house has probably been pretty well established, so it may take some rearranging to make good use of it. Unless you just really need a roomy place to get frisky with your spouse on the dining room table, I'd save this for last. Number 7 and number 8, open bedroom and open dining room. These are kind of meh renovations. They are pretty cheap in the grand scheme at 10,000 gold each, but they'll only net you 12 and 14 tiles respectively. The price per tile is not great, and removing the walls can actually be a detriment to your interior design. I would bet that these two are the renovations that the most Stardew Valley players pass on. Number 6, the expanded corner room. The expanded corner room is the biggest renovation tile-wise at 137, but those don't come cheap. The 100,000 gold price tag puts this in the middle of the pack with about 730 gold per tile. I would probably bump it up on the list if the shape wasn't so awkward. It's kind of long and narrow, while also having an odd protrusion out the right side. It may take a bit more work than some other rooms to get situated right. Number 5, the attic. Okay, so I really like the attic and I wish that I could rank it higher. It's a straight shot up from the front door and its shape is conducive with a lot of options and uninterrupted perimeter. I like to throw a bunch of windows on that north wall and turn it into a little sunroom or mini greenhouse with garden pots. It feels kind of secluded while also not being inaccessible. The only downside, other than slight asymmetry to the placement of the stairs, the price. It's not a huge room at 65 tiles, so the 60,000 gold price tag makes this the second least efficient renovation. Number 4, the cubby. The cubby is a tiny room located right by the front door. It's super cheap at 10,000 gold, and on paper it looks pretty good at 500 gold per tile. It's very convenient for adding things that you want a lot of quick access to, since it's right by the front door. Unfortunately, it's so small that it kind of behaves a little bit like a hallway where valuable space along the wall is lost when you add on to it. I still like to think it's worthwhile and makes a great place to keep some daily use chests and any statues that you want to check in on every morning before you leave, such as the statue of Endless Fortune, the statue of the Dwarf King, or the statue of Endless Blessings. Number 3, the corner room. The corner room has the second best price per tile of the renovations and is accessible pretty early on at only 20,000 gold. It's a pretty generic rectangular room, and the only downsides being some lost usable wall space due to the connecting hallway and the stairs. That downside is actually the main reason this room ranks so high though. It connects to the children's room as well as the main bedroom, which means adding this room suddenly makes getting around the house a lot more convenient. Number 2, the cellar. I mentioned this one at the beginning, so you may have seen it coming eventually. The cellar is technically the third house renovation, but you can get it at the same time as the rest of the renovations, so it makes sense to compare them all. As a house upgrade, it won't be an instantaneous construction like the other renovations, but it's good enough to warrant the extra few days. The cellar, like the expanded corner room, is 100,000 gold, but at 187 tiles, it will net you an additional 50 tiles of space to work with. It's a great space in general, but the big benefit of the cellar is unlocking casks as processing equipment and getting 33 of them for free. Casks are maybe not the best use for the space money-wise, but if you don't have anything else better to put down there, it probably doesn't hurt to use them. At the very least, this will allow you to age a few important artisan goods that you may want to keep on hand. For example, you may want a bottle of silver quality wine on hand for the missing bundle. It may help get some iridium quality gifts for certain villagers. Or you may want to stock up on a few items to use in the Luau Potluck or Stardew Valley Fair Grange display. The cellar is a little harder to make pretty since wallpaper doesn't work and the floor is a little mangled, but hey, you win some, you lose some. Coming in at the number 1 spot is the southern room. The southern room is a nice symmetrical rectangle with a wide entrance and low price of just 30,000 gold. This room has the lowest price per tile at just under 390 gold. The room is so economical and so versatile, it often ends up as my first addition. If you get it early or don't end up rearranging, it will probably be right below your bedroom, so it's convenient to access and makes a great location for equipment with shorter processing times. I've really grown to like this space as a workshop. There's enough room to set up a workbench with chests loaded up around it, and then enough wall space to put in furnaces, kilns, geode smashers, or even an anvil or mini forge later on. It's a great room for just about any purpose, so it kind of comes down to what you prioritize most at the time. Okay, so how do all of these stack up against each other stat-wise, and maybe more importantly, how do they stack up against other references, like the earlier house upgrades and the illustrious shed? We put together a little table to hopefully help you see just how far your money goes for each upgrade. Even if you buy all of the materials from Robin, the sheds beat out all of the renovations easily in the first year on the farm. They do use up a little space on the farm, and depending on how valuable those 21 tiles are, you may still prefer to pay a premium and get the house renovations. As money becomes less and less of an obstacle and your priority changes, you'll likely eventually get all or most of these upgrades and maybe even decorate them to look like a proper house. Or maybe you'll fill the whole thing with 586 kegs. Please don't. So, what do you guys think? Is there a certain room you always like to dedicate to something specific? Which ones do you like to get first? If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, please give it a like and subscribe, or come say hello to me on Twitch. Until next time, goodbye.